You are listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. This show is dedicated to those who live and love from the heart in infinite ways. In today's episode, we will discuss, share, gain insights, and get clarity on the wisdom and teachings of the mystic and seer Almine, as well as discover more about the miraculous healing modality called Belvaspata. Your host for this show is Paul.
Hello everyone, welcome to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. The religious studies scholar Huston Smith, who lived in the United States, wrote, "I lost the boundary of my physical body. I had my skin, of course, but I felt I was standing in the center of the cosmos. I saw people coming towards me, but all were the same man. All were myself. I had never known this world before. I had believed that I was created, but now I must change my opinion. I was never created. I was the cosmos. No individual existed." He also said that in nature, the emphasis is in what is rather than what ought to be. Absolutely incredible comment from the religious studies scholar Huston Smith, and welcome to the show. I'm not going to make the error today of giving us the wrong date. 20th of April 2017. It's 8 o'clock South African Standard Time. Welcome from everyone. Here in the studio, myself and Nico is handling our technical desk, and welcome to you, our listener from around the world. We appreciate you sharing with us, and it's fantastic to see how our listenership is growing week by week, and the comments are coming in and people are sharing. Tonight's episode is titled Mayhem, Splendour and Merging Realities. You will remember from last week's episode that we spoke about and pose the question if we are feeling that we are living in two different experiences at once. And that was the world of lack and the world of abundance. And we talked about all of those realities coming together and actually we living in all these different experiences. So that was some fascinating insight. And this show is really leading on from that show. And a lot of the discussions I've been having with a lot of you and some of you people, some of our listeners from around the world and some of our light family here in South Africa, been really incredible just to watch that all the time. The mystic and seer Almine says to us, chaos is the process of destructuring patterns and belief systems that hold us captive. The structure of our lives, regarded as order, is upheld by mind. Chaos loosens the grip of the mind, thereby enabling the brilliance of effortless knowing that ensues from the silencing of the dialogue of the mind. Chaos becomes disruptive only when it is called upon to facilitate forced change. Change gracefully unfolds when it comes unresisted. And that was the mystic and seer Almine telling us all about that. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the process that is going on. And if we take the aspects of what we were discussing last week, where we spoke about, we're understanding and feeling there is this absolute lack of things going on in our experiences and in our lives. And we just replaced that with the word mayhem, as coupled with the feelings that was going on, that we're also living in a time of great abundance. And for us, the last few weeks have been very, very much like that. There is just so much happening, so many opportunities and so much potential to be built on, and they are incredibly life-altering. But at the same time, we're still working with I'm going to use the word dredges of the old things, and there was a lack of substance and so much things as all of these destructuring processes came into place. So if we replace that aspect or that word from last week of abundance with today's word of Splendour, then maybe we can get the mayhem and splendor part as being much that same kind of thing. Because for me, I'm living in all these realities. And, when Nick and I sit and we chat quite regularly about the processes and what our experiences are day to day. And it really describes the aspect of living in mayhem, living in splendor at the same time. This morning I opened up Almine's Book of Spells, and the first thing that I saw there right in the front was the beautiful picture or the drawing of the merging of realities, the wheel of the merging of realities. And I took a picture and I posted that up on our local South African WhatsApp support group for our Belvaspatar family here. Absolutely, I was just so taken with that aspect of understanding that as I opened it out, the feeling of, yes, all these realities are merging together. And our show is really dedicated a lot to all of that. So here's just a comment as well that the natural frequency of our Earth, and otherwise known as the Schumann resonance, has hit its highest recorded value ever. This is the natural heartbeat of our planet that all biological life entrains to. So normally this frequency has hovered around 7 to 8 hertz since it was discovered in 1953. We had an episode of Radio Belvaspatar South Africa mentioning a lot of those processes earlier in the year, how we were saying the increase in that resonance had actually been increasing week by week, month by month. So in this article that I'm reading for you now, it says that over the past couple of years, it has been increasing. In 2014, it would start spiking to around 14 to 16 hertz on certain days. But last year, we would see it hit to about 30 to 40 hertz. And that's when, in that particular radio show, I mentioned that. And I said we were averaging like 30 to 40 hertz at any one particular point. So just over the weekend that we passed, the Easter weekend, it shot up to 90 hertz. That's a huge spike. Scientific analysis shows that our brain waves will entrain to these particular frequencies. So by definition, entrainment is to draw along with or after oneself. So essentially, the Earth's frequency is shifting higher and drawing our minds along with it. Ironic that this spike was on the symbolic date of Easter, and then the article just discusses about co-creatively resurrecting the Christ consciousness upon our planet. So I won't get into the aspect of it except to just remind everybody that is listening, and many of us are the students and following of the mystic and Seer Almine, that we are working on the state of resurrection and we understand it. And tonight we'll talk a little bit about how resurrection has brought the state of merging realities into play. But can you see that jump is almost like virtually over double, isn't it? Because if we had a 30 to 40 to 50 hertz resonance measurement earlier in this year, now suddenly we're spiking to 90, and you can just see those shifts are absolutely huge going on. And when we look at the posts that are coming up in Almine Diary and on lightworker.co, these two sites that Almine gives us a lot of information to work with, we can really recognize that there is really a huge amount of things happening. And again, the question is, if we are all in oneness, then we are all raising consciousness together, both cosmically and individually, because this is a state of oneness. So we can't really say that the Earth is shifting ahead of us or that we're causing those shifts, but at the same time we can't also go vice versa with it, because that would create an aspect of separation. And I'd love to hear your comments about all of that and just share with it. Well done to all of Almine students and followers who are working with the teachings around the world. It's incredible to watch your Facebook posts and your social media posts as you share from the heart. And of course, Radio Belvaspatar South Africa is along with you all, just supporting and creating that 1 hour, one and a bit hours every single Thursday just to be together. Really beautiful, and thank you very much for the opportunities. So we're going to listen to an audio by Almine. It's one that was she posted earlier in the year. But she says in this track that it is the integration of opposites that the mind cannot cope with. It is used to labeling and then gives value to opposites. This is good, that is bad, etc. It doesn't know what to do when these two aspects merge, and that's Almine. So now let's listen to the audio about why the world has gone mad and what to do about it. And on the other side of the track, we'll be discussing more of these aspects.
In seeing the daily news of attacks everywhere on citizens, within family members, killing one another, etc., we are left wondering, has the world gone mad? And actually, the answer is yes. And the answer pertains to the material we have been discussing in looking at at the resurrection and the different forms of light that it generates, etc. Let's take a look at it very closely. When we go into resurrection, a very extraordinary thing happens. Transcendence lifts us into a whole new reality. But it is a reality that has left duality behind. The world of opposites becomes integrated. Hot and cold become integrated. Sleep and wakefulness becomes integrated. It is the integration of opposites that the mind cannot cope with. It is used to labeling and then giving value to opposites. This is good, that is bad. It doesn't know what to do when those two merge. And you might ask, well, the people where this is happening aren't people that have gone into resurrection. Resurrection is such a major step for even one of those who walk among humanity to accomplish, that it is a puzzle piece that changes its shape completely, and therefore all the pieces of the puzzle have to reconform. It's a fractal shape in the middle of the fractal pattern that changes, and all the patterns around it has to change. If it's dramatic enough of a change, that is what happens. And resurrection is. So no, they may not be resurrecting the masses where these things are happening. However, they are affected by those who are resurrected. And it creates madness because the mind doesn't know what to do with becoming a contradiction. Opposites unite. Well, what are we going to do about this? Because the world is indeed experiencing attacks in many countries all over the world on its citizens. And madness, even amongst those who we come in contact with on a daily basis. Insanity in their reactions. What are we going to do about it? Well, today we're going to learn another interesting fact about opposites. View the fabric of life as a beautiful weaving. Then see somebody make a gash in it with a knife, and because the tapestry is pulled relatively tight, say over a frame, it opens up like a wound. It makes a gap in between. That means opposites have formed. Between opposites there is a gap. A gap of what? A gap of knowledge. A gap of answers. Can you see where this is going? Because I have said to you that those who go into that third level resurrection, where a white light is generated, that is not just any white light. It is a white light with very specific sacred qualities. It is brilliantly white, because white light is that which carries answers. This carries all possible answers as they change moment by moment. We become the glowing bright light of the Akashic living records. We have the answers. The answers is that which fills the gap between opposites. Now, when the opposites are apart, and then they just suddenly come together, now there's no longer opposites, the mind goes into insanity. However, if you have two poles that have pulled apart, there's a gap in between, and you fill that gap, which is a gap of knowledge, with answers. Even though, as I've explained in our online seminar that will be coming up in October, even though we may not need those answers, they are there for us. that eliminates the need for demons to embody the questions. It eliminates the need for mind to go into insanity because the gap is closing. The gap is closing with answers so that it doesn't befuddle and confuse the mind by being a contradiction. Hot and cold are the same thing is different than there is a range of answers that combine them into a cohesive answer, and that the mind can deal with. So if we generate the white light, how do we do that? In the first level, we generate the magenta. In the second level, we generate the violet light. And in the third level of resurrection, we generate the gold light of glad expectations. When you put those together, they make white light, because the three of them contain all the primary colors. The colors combined create the white light. And then a sacred metamorphosis happens with the white light. And that change in the white light is that becomes all-knowing, living, ever renewed, and it becomes such a font of knowledge that there is no need for any creature to embody chaos.
And great insight there from the mystic and Seer Almine as she discussed about why the world has gone mad and what we can do about it. And of course, working with these different aspects and depths and frequencies, resonances of light, which she has been discussing. So if you are an Almine student and follow, you'll have worked through all of this over the last year, worked through these different aspects of resurrection. If you are listening to our radio show and you are new to the Seer Almine's teachings, you can find out a lot online, or just go to our website as well, which is belvaspatar.co.za. I'm just having a smile here. You know, when we first really connected with the teachings of Almine and learned all about the healing modality of belvaspatar, we couldn't actually even say it in the beginning. And it's nice to see, you know, when you're talking to people about it and people are new to it, how they battle to get that word right, and all sorts of words come out of it. So it's quite interesting and humorous to watch people adapt and change. But as they understand the frequency of just using the word belvaspatar, how it actually just shifts and brings change into their lives. So on Almine Diary, there's been a very interesting few comments posted up there, and I've just been putting them together this week for us as we delve deeper into the insights of the week that is behind, and of course delve into the insight of the week that is yet to come. So somebody posted up there a question to Almine that said, "My life has been on the crossroads ever since the V." Mysterious title, but what this person is referring to is the V shown in the time map and the cosmic time map that we are working with each and every day. Listen to last week's show as well if you like, and that will give you more information there. But the question posed to her was, "My life has been totally on the crossroads ever since the V, except it's not at all clear what roads are crossing and which one to take. I feel as if I have to make major life changes, but I don't know what. Any clarity?" So Almine responds, "My dearest one, I have been going through the same dilemma. It feels as if big life changes are imminent, but I can't see what. Although I don't have the full answers right now, I can give some pieces of the puzzle." So right there, beautiful support system, because Almine, always authentic and transparent in her responses and in her teachings. And she's saying she just can't see what. She understands that these things are going on. And this is the aspects of success in life, maybe the wrong word, splendor in life, this aspect of abundance. We can all see it coming. The opportunities are there, but we're still sitting with a residue of the old uncertain levels. And as we were listening to that audio earlier, I was just feeling that we need to get to that mid-brain block of the two crashing together and then releasing it to allow this new aspects of splendorous abundance coming in. And there we are. New word has been defined. So we'll work with all of that. But let's listen, as Almine says, as she gives some pieces of the puzzle. And by the way, I don't know if anybody's noticed our inability to speak. I'm battling right at this moment. I saw last week I was like battling to speak properly. So if I'm sounding a bit like I've got a hot potato in my mouth and stumbling on my words, I'm really trying just because we're on air right at this moment. But I've noticed there seems to be a difficulty in actually expressing words and maintaining a memory of sharing what my thoughts are at any one particular point. Conversations trail off very easily. I go through half sentences. And it's just really an incredible moment. And of course, I don't see these things as wrong or right any longer. I just understand and I go to myself, this is interesting. So where are we going with all of that? And my conclusion on that, as I'm allowing all of these things to move forward, is just to slow down my speech, sit down, ground myself, and just allow myself to focus for that few moments on what I'm needing. So people, I'm barefoot, gripping the carpet in the recording studio at this moment and holding tightly onto the chair so that I'm able to speak properly. So if I go off track, send us a note or a WhatsApp and I'll get back to it. So Almine says, although I don't have the full answers right now, I can give some pieces of the puzzle. Number 1, this is a time in our evolution when inner realities become more important and comfortable than outer reality. As a consequence, our life seems to lose its attraction, and nothing external seems to delight us as before. Number 2, it may be a helpful time to keep a journal. Write down the thoughts about what areas you'd like to change, if you could have anything that you want. Number 3, identify the areas you feel are stagnant in your life, or things that you hold on to because of fear, or of not trusting yourself to manifest again in the future. I find it inspiring of how the Inuit Aboriginals of Alaska hunt only enough to feed their tribe today, trusting in having nature provide again for them tomorrow. They travel lightly because they don't hoard, even though the land is unpredictable and inhospitable, and living in a deep freeze climate would make it easy to store food. Our security too often lies in our hoarding, rather than in our self-reliance. Number 4, she suggests that we make a list of what you would need to manifest to replace any obstacles standing in your way. Number 5, I have encountered really unclear and obscure answers as to our next step throughout the years. During such times, the usual way of getting answers fails us, compounding the problem. This is now huge, what we're about to listen to. Whenever this happens, there has been a situation in which we are making a huge effort to save millions of lives as a proxy by overcoming the darkness under extremely difficult circumstances. Many blessings for clarity for you, love, Almine. Absolutely incredible answer, and the depth of insight there for me is pretty profound to actually be able to work with. So a huge effort to save millions of lives. And what I've just been having a conversation with other people, and they're talking about the depths of things that they are moving through and what they are working with. And they're also saying they're realizing they're lifting so much out of the old, and it's taking every ounce of strength that they've got to do all of that. And the resultant circumstances is feelings of like being burnt out. We were looking at the symptoms of burnout on a emotional and physical level the other day, the medical symptoms associated with it. And then you go look at the symptoms associated with resurrection and ascension and what people are sharing individually, and they are spot on. So literally, I think we as the human being moving into God consciousness or having attained God consciousness, we need to also look at that aspect of it. We are going through a state of absolute burnout. And so for me, myself, I'm able to do my day's work as I'm going along, not very effectively much of the time, but what I do is I rest and do the work. Then I eat and then I rest. And I just simply do what I have to do in front of me. Although, there is a work and there are companies and all of these things have to be done. So all of that is shifting and altering. But I've discovered for myself that the only thing that really sustains me is the ability of surrendering through trust to the particular process, which doesn't mean I've given up on it. It simply means that I trust that I am fully supported, and all of these things will manifest. And lo and behold, at the right moment, something happens, and I'm incredibly grateful for all of that. Almine says in The Ring of Truth that the core of the problem of our not seeing the desired degree of diminishing chaos lies in our not properly understanding what it is. To explain the role chaos has played within the large picture of cosmic growth, it is necessary for us to comprehend how cosmic growth takes place. And I'd like to discuss a little bit about the dynamics of cosmic growth, because we have to understand the cosmos is growing, it's expanding all the time, and we are working with this. As it unfolds, we unfold. As we unfold, the cosmos unfolds. And so we are growing in these incredible moments all together. So the dynamics of cosmic growth are interesting. For number one, Almine writes that certain building blocks of existence hold the large template or pattern of life in place. Number two, within this pattern, and think of this as an ideal, individual beings have a certain amount of freedom of expression. They will either choose to work with the pattern or against it. They will cooperate with the highest good or not. So there's choice to go. I think that's called free will, right? A lot of spiritual teachings talk about the aspect that we have free will. The third one, two scenarios can shift the overall template. Firstly, if enough beings cooperate with a large pattern, and the large pattern is seen as the infinite's will, bringing its full potential into actuality by contributing their rich and diverse interpretations of it. Number four, not only can we evolve life by finding new ways in which to express its perfection, but the infinite can as well. This occurs by the infinite exploring itself within that specific pattern or perspective. When enough self-perception takes place, the infinite's pattern of expression, which is the template, transfigures to a higher one. And the fifth one, the large will of the infinite or template, is the highest order of existence in the cosmos at any time. Our lives, as we strive to bring them into alignment with the big picture, are of a lower order. Number six, because the minute we catch up to some extent with the perfection of the large pattern, we cause it to transfigure to a higher one yet again. The gap always remains. At this point, our definition of chaos needs to change to reflect the actual process of cosmic growth. Chaos is indeed part of the infinite's perfection when we realize it is a higher order seen from a lower order's perspective. A higher order's perspective sees the perfection of the divine pattern, whilst the lower order sees it as chaos. The caterpillar, not yet able to see the beauty of the butterfly that he is transfiguring into, finds his metamorphosis catastrophic and chaotic. Are we then doomed to always live in chaos because this gap will always exist? And Almine says, behind the face value, the appearance of life, the pattern can be seen. It takes constant vigilance on our part to cultivate this eternal perspective, to see the perfection of what sages have called the real behind the chaotic appearances. The template is the structure of life, the banks of the river. It's the flowing torrent of personal choices lived within its confines, is the flow. Neither one is less perfect than another, and each has its place. So that's beautiful. That's taken from the book, The Ring of Truth, by the mystic and Seer Almine, available online on Spiritual Journeys, and I think also probably on Amazon, etc., along the way. Right, what we're going to listen to now is the Seer Almine again, 2 short tracks talking about the known and the unknowable, and then she's going to tell us how to access the known, because I feel that a lot of the time many people are still looking for the known within something and trying to make sense of it, but as this is always transfiguring into a higher reality, we're only seeing the face value of things and we're not being able to see behind the surface. And I remember, having studied with the Seer Almine many years ago here in Johannesburg, one of the main things that she'd said to me was said to the group at that point, always look behind the surface. And that has stood me in good stead for many years. So let's listen to this and we'll chat some more about contradiction when we come back.
Let us talk a little bit about the known, the unknown, and the unknowable. We've mentioned it in previous video clips and also on some of our emails out to our email list, but today is the day we're going to examine the way it has become, something I have not discussed before. So, the known is that which is known by someone somewhere in the world at this time. However, the unknown also pertains to that which others know. So in other words, man has a very particular way of looking at things. And as such, he can not see peripheral vision. So other beings within the cosmos can. They see horizontally, if you will, versus our very narrow, in-depth view of life, which often sees only the appearances. But wherever anything is known in the cosmos, it is the known. Now, something that is the unknown to man may yet be known to other kingdoms. So in other words, we cannot define the unknown as simply that which cannot currently be seen. It's a question of by whom. So the known and the unknown varies race upon race. Some races can see a great deal depending on their levels of consciousness, for instance, whereas others cannot, like man. But the known and the unknown, then, is that which can be known and become the known through experience because it's already available information. That is what we call the unknown. But now we come to the unknowable. And the unknowable has been traditionally the realm of man, in terms of the fact that it's only in the densest levels of physicality, where the known and the unknown meets, where one can actually push beyond it into the unknowable, things that have never been known before, evolving evolution and bringing about the growth of all the cosmos. No wonder man has attracted so much attention from so many different races, because it is here where growth begins and then ripples throughout the whole cosmos.
There are some little hitches here and there that we need to take a look at. So, number one, there are two types of dreaming, and you will remember that dreaming was one of the techniques that the warrior used to access the unknown. The two ways that he accessed the unknown was with dreaming and with feeling. And we say that the future is the unknown, people are the unknown, people's words are the unknown. And if we think otherwise, we are taking it at face value, and that to the warrior is an arrogance that he cannot permit, because in the world of energy, you have to be on your toes. So, dreaming and feeling are the tools that you use to access the unknown. To access the known, you use the technique of not doing, and this is a technique where you step out of the experience and you simply observe it. And it is one of the three stages that brings you actually to the place of what can be called loss of identity and the fullness of the universe. You know, people name these things differently. They call it nirvana, but then they say nirvana is emptiness, which it is not, because that's the second last stage. The first stage is that you start to feel as if you are an observer in your life. This is the technique of not doing, one of the techniques that we use to access the known. And then the next stage that you go into
Team Belvaspata Healing South Africa facilitates one-on-one, group or distant healings utilizing a cutting-edge angelic healing modality that harmonizes and balances using a combined process of light and frequency. This cosmic healing modality has various protocols available that will assist in the transformation, transmutation and transfiguration of many areas of life. Visit our website on www.belvaspita.co.za for complete information, and also link to us on Facebook under our name, Team Belvaspita Healing South Africa. You may also send an email to belvaspita@anua.co.za. You can join our WhatsApp discussion group for daily posts and trending information and updates from Almine, the Seer and Mystic. Message us via either Facebook, email, or on the station's commentary section. We will now return to the online chat show, hosted by Team Belvaspita South Africa and our guests for the day. And you're back in studio with myself, Paul, as your host for this episode of Radio Belvaspita South Africa, as we talk all about mayhem, splendor, and merging realities in our lives. And Nico is handling very masterfully our sound desk, and I'm appreciating that very much. Thank you for that. So, we were listening there to the Mystic and Seer Almine as she spoke about the known and finding the known, and really just putting some clarity into the simplicity of all of it. I do think that the tendency of spirituality as it develops in people's lives sometimes is to make things incredibly complex. But again, as we just allow it to work through us and sit with us, so much more becomes clearer and we get more clarity out of those particular aspects. In Almine's webinar Experience the Golden Light of the Third Stage of Resurrection, which already happened earlier this year, she discusses the metaphysics of questions and answers, specifically the functions of demons as embodying chaos, the unanswered questions, lest the chaos spills out into our world. So the three stages of resurrection, in which we move beyond the duality of body and soul, of life and death, of the awake and dream times, of the masculine and feminine, represent the steps through which the body learns to supersede matter, becoming made of brilliant white light that contains all knowledge of individuation. That is all answers to all possible questions, and that's the true meaning of the Akashic records. Until then, the increase in insanity is a kind of fallout that can arise when a world entrenched in mind becomes affected by the few entering into resurrection. Their mind, says Almine, becomes befuddled by becoming a contradiction and are not equipped to bridge the gap of knowledge between opposite poles, between the questions and the answers. The key is to bridge this gap with the golden light of glad expectations, the third stage of resurrection, removing the need for creatures that embody chaos in our lives. And I think that post there, just that few lines of what Almine is teaching us there is so profound and so insightful because, you may have been noticing how you are, I'm going to use the words, removing that in your life which embodies chaos, in terms of people and events and relationships and experiences, and perhaps you're not physically removing them, even though you may identify at this moment that you are moving away from some of those things, or not. This is also an individual journey, but they may be just moving away and new things are taking their place. So for today's show, I'm not saying that we are in chaos, but I can certainly tell you that for us here, we have been through a massive process of chaos and upheaval and change. And yes, you always work towards creating order and substance. But what is really incredible is that as all of these old things die away, what replaces it is something on a much higher order. And we are recognizing this and we're seeing all of it. So in the 20th of December last year, 1 a.m. in the morning, there was a lightning and thunderstorm around us. And our home got struck directly by lightning. And when I say directly, it was a hard hit that had everything jumping in the house, and it felt a bit like an earthquake had hit us. And it was in that moment that I knew, as we were being hit, that I felt, okay, we're in for some serious damage here. However, it also means a lot of newness is coming. There was a whole awakening at that particular moment. And we are still dealing with some of the fallout and residue of that with insurances, with some of the processes and equipment. But it is incredible what we have received in return for it, how we have redefined the process, and we've got rid of a lot of the old things that we were still using without realizing that new things could have replaced it. So if you're listening to the show today and you're recognizing the voice quality over the system that you listen to is much better, it's because we have new systems installed in our studios, and it took us almost 3 months to get to this particular point. So I'm really, really grateful for all of that. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about the scrolls of chaos and order, just to give us a deeper understanding and to bring some aphorisms into place for us that you can write down as we're going along. And of course, we can just copy and email these to anybody who requests. But these are the Atlantean diaries and the work of Almine the Seer. She translates those diaries. And that's just Lemurian information that she'd actually worked through in 2011. And as we were just looking for information today on another level, this popped up. So we thought that next week that would be a great show to work with. So do join us then. But in the meantime, Almine is also posting about the life and death spheres of the Merkaba. And the Merkaba, of course, has very big influence on many teachings of a spiritual nature around the world. So with Almine, there are particular aspects that she's been working with, and a lot of her students and followers have been working with this as well. So the question here is the two opposite spinning spheres of the resurrection Merkaba, do these represent life and death? This was the question given to Almine. Almine answers, the opposite spinning spheres represent the inner masculine and feminine. This is, of course, expressed in life and death or outer and inner space. Question, do these spheres represent the evolution of the star tetrahedrons, or do they coexist? Almine says, there are multiple fields around the body. The egoic self, also called primitive man, lives primarily from the star tetrahedrons. Man in expanded awareness lives from the octahedron. The God being in the flesh uses the tetrahedron. The resurrected being uses the spheres. These spheres carry the information on how to live from that level of evolution and are stacked each side each other like Russian dolls. So a really fascinating insight as you just ponder on that for a few moments. Another question was then posed. Do these spheres spring from the Haraknit point behind the navel? If not, there is a connection with the Haraknit, since it's halfway house between the inner and outer space. Just for your information, on the 7th of April, and I hope my dates are right here, we broadcast a 2-hour meditation healing special where we actually broadcast the meditation around the Haraknit, and very beautiful to go into there. But let's answer this question with Almine, because Almine says the Haraknit is an inner space construction of space where there is a balanced presence of inner and outer space where fields overlap. They cancel each other's illusions out. The question then posed to her again, well, how do chakras relate to the resurrection Merkaba? Or is the resurrection Merkaba indicative of the unified chakra state? Almine answers, the unified chakra field is indeed fully formed during the third stage of resurrection. It lies like an oval field around the body. Its connection with the resurrection Merkaba lies in the fact that it becomes a time travel vehicle when the Merkaba rotates at optimum speed. And that is giving us a lot of answers as to what is going on at this moment in time. As these chakric fields merge and alter, as all these realities begin to shift and change, as we move from the state of the primitive egoic mind right through the human condition into the God-being condition. And I know several shows away we were discussing, do we actually live as a God being, or do we live as a human trying to be a God being, still thinking we need to make that effort? And that was very, very interesting insights there. So some more information came up on Almine Diary, which is to do with today's show, all about living in mayhem and splendor and merging realities. And there were questions about the life of the Seer Almine. So she answers these questions. The question B says, being a prominent figure, you often get criticism. Isn't it discouraging that people sometimes see flaws when you bring in such profound knowledge? What do you call people who nitpick? Almine says, I call them human. Just because someone has the consciousness of a God being doesn't mean that they live from the God reality. They could be living from a human reality. It is one of the primary qualities of humanity that they see what is not. God beings see what is. Humans see the outlines of the drawing instead of the image created in the space that the lines define. They are usually very critical of themselves and others. So I think that answers a whole lot for us to work with right there. Question. And what would be another human quality? Almine answers, lack of humility. Thinking that they know in a knowable universe. Criticism also comes from self-importance. And those are those two things, always two sides of the same coin, self-pity, self-importance. I know for myself, I've been working on that incredibly. You know what I love about the teachings and the workings of the Seer Almine? As things get uncovered, as she shares that information with us worldwide, I recognize the work that I'm doing has often been on a non-conscious level. I've been doing work on myself. I've been working with these things, but I haven't recognized it. Or I might be recognizing that there is something happening but unsure of what it is, and so I continue on that particular process or journey or creating those experiences. And lo and behold, very, very shortly, you see the post coming up, the information from around the family and through Almine. And I'm really incredibly grateful to have all of this in my life at this particular point. But yes, I think this humility, absolutely incredible. Almine, I know, once did define the difference between humility and modesty. And she said that, in this world, humility is everything, and there's no space for modesty. So, when people ask you who you are and what you do, we should be saying what we are and who we're doing instead of hiding behind an old paradigm or an old reality or an old explanation or understanding. So I can see just this week now we're going to be walking around and people say, hello, who are you? And I'll be going, hi, I'm Paul. I'm a God being in the flesh, and I'll see what is. I mean, there we go in terms of it. A bit of humor, of course, but the shift that needs to happen within our concepts as we go through all of this process is profoundly needed and needs to be understood by everybody on this particular path, because we cannot be who we were, and yet we still cannot be who we're going to be, because that has not yet been uncovered. And in fact, to try to do that would be incredibly limiting. And all we have is what we have at this moment in time. And as we stop our vision of cloud and mist and, trying to walk through the forest and the quagmires of problems and issues, just seeing what it is for the reality that it is, and then working through these things effectively. And that is my particular effort at this particular time. So we're a little bit early with Almine's rune prediction of the week. This is for April 24th to the 30th, but it defines a lot of what we are saying tonight in terms of how we can easily get stuck in the old paradigms, and we need to learn to merge all these realities together. So here we go. It's called Obsession Demonstrates Faithlessness, and it's rune 8.32. The angel is Luk Berut. The explanation here, replacing the overcoming of adversity with the knowledge of ourselves as the conductor of the orchestra of our lives. Almine explains that. She says the universe does not tolerate obsession, which is over-focusing on one specific area of life. This has been the reason avid prayer has seldom produced results. If we apply all the correct principles of manifestation, but apply them obsessively, we manifest the opposite of our intent. Obsessiveness demonstrates faithlessness in the power of our intent. I'd like to add to that, because I'm just feeling that it also says is that we're not able to surrender and trust in an accurate way. What we're going to do now, is we're going to just listen to a short intro track about clearing subliminal programs, just to add to where we're at this moment in time. It's the Hadji-Ka brainwave meditation. So please, if you're listening to this live as podcast, you are probably not in your motor vehicle, but if you're listening to this in podcast form, having downloaded it, and you're driving, listening to it, as I believe happens, please, you need to pull over or you need to just switch off right now, because we're going to have just a little while, 5 minutes of a meditation together as we clear the subliminal programs. And for those that are new to these particular teachings or understandings, we don't have to do anything. What's going to happen here is that Almine has created music for us and comment that clears out the black and the white light by cancelling each other out, and so we're living in the openness of great potential. But these are clearing subliminal programs, and it's specifically designed to clear programs down the spine. We will be back on the other side of this. And there we were listening to a sample of what is termed the Hadji-Ka brainwave meditation created by Almine. Its function is to dislodge subliminal programs in the spine and break the illusion that external space is all there is. The original is 1 hour long. It is available online, and I think somewhere it is available as a free download. If you are wanting it, then please let us know, and we'll see if we can just send you a link to all of that. You have our website, you have our email, you have our WhatsApp groups, all that, and we're on Facebook quite regularly too, and on Instagram. So we are doing a lot here at Belvas Healing South Africa. Lots of plans being developed, and at the moment our website is undergoing some shifts and changes as well as we update it. So Almine tells us the blessings of abundance, and this is so beautiful. The infinite did not produce just one star or one grain of sand, nor one field of flowers or seed from a dandelion. Life teems with abundance. Glistening shoals of fish move like treasure through the ocean's depths. Thousands of birds fly like white clouds across the continents on their way to the sun. And every spring, exuberant fields of flowers renew their annual display of color. Perhaps this is good enough excuse for the extravagant abundance of my nature. I surround myself with plentiful supplies, a multitude of things that I can cherish, and layers of cozy comforts to stand between those who are welcomed into my home and the inhospitality of life. When I make preserves, I make enough for a small army. When I write poetry, I write all night long. I live fully and exuberantly, with all the conviction of my being. The sluices of my heart know only one position: open. It is not always acceptable for those who prefer to live in the half-light, the curtains of their soul slightly closed. But I've found my excuse. I'm suffused with nature's song of bounty. Beautiful blessings of abundance by the mystic and Seer Almine. And we've come to the end of our show yet again. Radio Belvas, South Africa, 20th of April 2017. So we're going to just close now with the way that we opened, as a reminder that through the splendor of life, through the mayhem of life, these are all in absolute perfection. That the realities that are now emerging for us, we need to allow it to continue to emerge. We need to welcome it in, to live in the fullness of all of these realities as the alchemical equations of working with the golden light all manifest and come into play. The show, we hope, has been a reminder to you, has been a time for you to be able to sit and heal with it and just sit alongside each one of us as we broadcast outside here from Benoni, near Johannesburg in South Africa. And we really appreciate worldwide all our listenership, and thank you very much for staying with us. So remember what Houston Smith said at the beginning: I lost the boundary of my physical body. I had my skin, of course, but I felt I was standing in the center of the cosmos. I saw people coming towards me, but all were the same man. All were myself. I had never known this world before. I had believed that I was created, but now I must change my opinion. I was never created. I was the cosmos. No individual existed. And how beautiful is it to start and open the show with some beautiful poetry, both by the Almine and also some famous scholars like this. We are wishing you all the very best until next week, and we are closing the show with the sigils of love, of gratitude, of praise, and a reminder that it is our job to be in surrendered trust in all its potential and all its reality. Goodbye from the team until next week, Thursday. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Radio Belvas, South Africa. Thank you for listening and sharing in our discussion. Should you have any questions with regards to the healing modality of Belvas, or have any healing needs, please send us an email to info@belvaspata.co.za or add comments to our page on Spreaker.com so we can work on providing a suitable response. We now close this episode with the eternal ascension qualities of love, praise, gratitude and trust, and look forward to sharing again with you next week. Goodbye.